Good morning, everyone. My name is Allison. It's kind of rough going last up here because I'm already crying. My nose is running. But anywho, they asked me to come up here and give a testimony for an event that happened in my life this year. So I wrote it all out. My wife tells me to write them out because I'll just go off into no man's land if I don't. So I have it here. So anyhow, I guess this journey started when I received I'm thinking it was a text, might have been an email, from Pastor Art and all the elders regarding sending myself and 4 other men from the church to Papua New Guinea to help Promise Vaughn in building a home for herself. I guess they visited and kind of felt it was safer for her to be closer to her tribe. So when I got home and I showed it to my wife, we prayed about it and we agreed that, okay, we're going to go for this adventure. So in saying that, a lot of you may have already heard the story, but it's worth saying it a second, or this might be your 3rd time, but for those who didn't, this is a quick go over. The one thing about this whole thing is obviously God's grace and the prayers that He answered before we even got started, for during the trip and the things that had to happen before the trip. And some of those prayers were, number 1 was the logistics and the preparation for this trip. Going to Papua New Guinea isn't like going to Hawaii or something. You gotta prepare for it. We only had so much luggage that we could pack, which is 1 big bag and then 1 little carry-on. And in that 1 bag is not clothing. We're going there to build a house, and we don't know what we need there, so we're packing tools and, for me, pipes and different things for planting, and the other guys are packing their stuff for, building a house, basically, doing all the finish. So we didn't really know what we were packing. We were just trying to go with what she said. One of the biggest things prayers that were answered was the last minute visas that we received. We had to have visas to even get into the country to do what we were doing. And it was getting down to the wire, literally the last 2 days. We did it in advance, 3 months in advance, but they never came. So my wife, bless her heart, decides to fly to Washington, D.C., and praise God, she was able to go to the embassy, and on the very last evening, she received those visas for us so that we could make this trip and take care of this, work on this house for Promise Vaughn. So that was just amazing in itself. The other logistic is just, again, getting from Papua New Guinea is not that big of a deal, but from there to get into the jungle, I guess is what we're going to call it, or the bush, is a whole nother deal. And you have to, there's 3 ways of getting there. The easiest being the helicopter ride, and then we were getting emails about all these people that had to make these other trips, would be a hike, which is, I don't even think possible with the luggage that we had. And the other is a canoe, which again was very impossible because they had real hard rains the year before, or that year, and it was all dammed up everywhere. And they were talking about take the canoe a mile and then lift it up and put your stuff and walk another mile or 2 or 3, and it was like a 2-day process. So thank God that in fact, that week, our helicopter literally was broke down. So at that point, we're struggling how we're going to even get here after we've already done everything else. And again, in the last days, with everybody praying about it, they had another missionary team who had an available helicopter, praise God, that was able to get us to Promise. And even though it took a little bit longer because we were supposed to leave earlier, we had to wait another, I don't know what it was, 3 or 4 days to get there. We were able to, so we were able to get there. But what it made it, now it's pressing us for time now, because now instead of having 6-7 days to work, we're down to maybe 5 days to actually build this house and get this thing going. So, and then one more thing is just having parts to do this job, the stuff that we needed to go out there. It's not like we have a Home Depot or a Lowe's that we can walk to. There's nothing out there. So the only thing you have is what's there. So you got to improvise. So we got emails from Promise stating what she thought she needed, and we just went from there. We packed what we thought we could pack, and we left. And in saying that, when you get to the airport, you have all this luggage. Our stuff went right on through, and we got on that plane, and we're like, thank God for that prayer. So we got through that and through all the customs. And again, Promise emailed us this list. I don't even know how many pages it was of the things that we had to do. And looking at that list, we really felt like, wow, it's going to be impossible to get this list done. We'll do what we can. That was all we were expected to do. But by God's grace, we got out there. We right away got to work. There was no resting, and we were able to get everything on that list done, and then even some little, I say, special things for Promise that we were able to do for her new house. So we thank God for that. And just being there with Promise, it's amazing that she was called to be a blessing to these people and to spread the word. And it was so incredible to see how she works and interacts with these people there, how she, even in the building of her house, we got to see that, I don't know, they have some kind of, I don't even know what to call it, but they have a deal there where you don't go into people's houses there. It's not really good because they're just like a open house, and you sleep in there, and so you're not supposed to go in someone's bedroom or into their house. So they don't have a lot of people coming in your house. But the way Promise built her house, she put a little loft up above, and she sleeps up there, which is incredible because it's so hot in Papua New Guinea. And to sleep up higher where there's no air, it's a testimony to how she feels, and she's able to invite these people into her house and, be able to interact with them and, talk the gospel or whatever she's going to do, have meals, and it's not an issue with these people. So that, and then one other thing is that the unity that we had, the 5 of us that were there. I mean, I felt like we had this bond with each other, and this is like 5 guys going to a place and sleeping in a room that's literally 20 by 10, all in the same, a bed, a guy on the floor, a guy next. I mean, we're all right there together trying to sleep in a place where the temperatures, I think, are 100 degrees with 80% humidity during the day, and at night it's probably 79 or I don't know. It's crazy. You're sweating. It's really rough there. So for us to sleep and with all the crazy sounds outside, that's a whole nother deal. These, not the sounds from the guys, that too, but the houses there are open because they got to get air. It's the only way you can get any kind of air. And in the jungle, there's no wind. There's no air. It's just still. So you hear the dogs barking at night, and the roosters, I don't even think they sleep. It's so hot. They crow all night long. So just to get any sleep was amazing. So anyhow, again, this trip was an incredible blessing to myself, and I'm sure the other guys that were there, and to Promise Vaughn. And I'm sure everybody knows her, but if you don't, she's, a missionary from our church. She was pretty much raised in this church, Awana. She was a leader, and then her heart just was to go out and do the missions field, and a lot of us support that. And so it was a blessing to all of us to go there. And so in saying that, I just want to thank everybody, all those who contributed, whether it was through prayer for us, because so many